Hello, welcome to today's Lunch and Learn. I'll be your host, Jared. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to put it in the webinar chat. I will be watching it. And if you do have a question, go ahead and type it in there. Welcome, everybody. Go ahead and start writing your questions in the webinar chat, and I'll get to it and I'll demonstrate it and answer it verbally if it's something simple. But go ahead and start typing away your questions there. I mentioned I wasn't able to register your webinar today from Position site. Yes, we just had to update something on our end, so that should be resolved. We just had to generate some more meetings, more webinars for it. So should all be good now. Thanks for letting us know. Let's see. Umar Pragathi, any questions? I'm unable to delete the JSON structure, which has a corresponding flow structure associated with it. I just need to delete the JSON structure, but keep the flow structure as is. I'm gonna let you talk, Umar. Can you give me more information on?
Oh yeah, sure. I was trying to unmute myself, but that button was not visible. I was just trying to figure that out. Anyways, thanks for unmuting me. Yeah, I
Mhm.
can actually share my screen if it allows me. Let me see.
We won't be able to allow you to share the screen because we put this on YouTube and record it, so
Okay.
we
Okay,
won't
no
we won't be
problem.
able to do that.
Sure, no
Um,
problem. So basically, let me give you a scenario like what exactly we had done.
mhm,
So we had actually used that like generate the models, generate the
mhm,
JSON models based on the JSON string that we had provided to it, like a JSON structure in a like string we had provided, and based
sure.
on that, it had created one JSON structure with that cube icon, and it
Mhm,
also created one flow structure with the exact same name. Right
right.
now, everything is fine. Then we started like using that model in multiple places. Now the issue is when we are actually pushing this code from like lower environment to higher environment, there
Mhm,
is a certain bug in decisions, which is kind of in case of the JSON structures, it creates a duplicate classes whenever we push to higher environment, or whenever we actually take it from a branch and deploy it, it kind of duplicates the models. So to
mhm,
avoid it, what we had to do was like, just have a normal flow structure without its JSON structure correspondence, right? So we just wanted to have a pure flow structure without any that cube icon. But now it is not allowing me to do anything. Now, if I try to delete it, it is saying that it is being used. I cannot deassociate them both like with each other.
mm. So, let's see. So I'd recommend. It sounds like something to recommend a support ticket to help you through to just unclog that. Conceptually, all I can really give you there is that. So are you just trying to delete the JSON structure and then have the flow structure?
As is, yes.
That's it? Okay, because
Yeah.
then, and you're in a repository environment because you mentioned you have.
Yeah.
What I would recommend is probably version that, create another branch with that version, change to that branch, and then try to edit um, kind of that project as to not kind of mess with the life cycle of the other two branches. And then what you would do is there's no easy way with this, but anytime you have and something that's used
Mm-hmm.
in another environment. I think this one
Yeah.
has dependency. What you'll have to do is you'll have to go to let's see, more browse dependencies. Okay, that was not a
Mm-hmm.
good one. But what you can do is for that data type, if I have a data type that I'm using, did I build one? Yeah. So if I wanted to see what are the dependencies that utilize
Mm-hmm.
that, notice that I have those two. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's what you would have to do to go ahead and find, say, okay, this amusement park is utilized in this process form subflow. So I can left click on this and edit then this flow and then say, okay, I need to then remove that association by removing that step. And then what I would do just to, so you remember where to add it back in, just add like a placeholder step and just say, hey, this is for the new flow structure process or flow structure
Yeah,
data type.
I understand that. Uh,
Yeah.
into there are like 3, 4 different places where we have to do this. I already checked the dependencies,
Hmm.
right? But the problem is like one of the flow structure or a JSON structure is simple enough. I can easily do it. But
Hmm.
one of the other one, which is like at the very root level, and
Yeah,
for
yeah.
that I may end up like changing at so many places, and there is a huge chance that I'll end up actually messing up the entire business flow.
Right, and that's why so correct. And unfortunately, there's no easy way to fix having to go through all that because that's the foundation of everything. So that's why my suggestion is in your repository server, cut a new branch that will allow you and then change your specific environment, like if your dev server or whatnot, or something that's not tied to production. I would advise then changing that into a new branch and then make these changes so you don't
Like
mess up
manually.
everything. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, because there's no quick way to go through and do that. But I don't
I
recommend.
tried
Go ahead.
renaming also, but it didn't allow me to rename either,
Correct.
saying
That
that
won't work.
it will ultimately delete it internally.
Correct. That's not going to work either because it's tied by the ID level of the object, unfortunately. So that's why, and like I said, since it's foundational, that's why you'd have to go through wherever you reference that and change that. I don't advise doing this on your own. I would say submit a support ticket and work with the support team, and they can help you with that process of how to, change that data type from one to the other.
Okay, so
So,
one more question on top of this.
mhm,
Then what exactly is the benefit that we are getting by having that JSON structure cube thingy, right? Yeah, flow structure, fine. Like it would have been much better if with the
mhm,
exact same flow using decisions the way we had generated the models, right? The flow structures.
mhm.
It would have just created the flow structure and not really created that JSON structure with the same name as a separate entity, because what exactly is the purpose that it is serving?
The JSON are you talking about like when you're creating like are you talking about? Let's not check over
You
here.
can
Data
try like very
types.
small JSON structure.
Yeah, you're talking about doing this, right? Adding it here and pasting like a JSON
Yeah,
object, like fruit.
correct. So it will create two objects, right? One that cube icon with a JSON structure with the name, and then
Hmm.
exact same name, it will create a flow structure. So now both of those are linked with each other, right? So what is the purpose that JSON structure is serving then? We
So
already have a
yeah,
flow structure there with the same name, right? That's exactly the same thing.
right. But in the back end, both they're linked. So if you want to just create an object with a JSON, you just paste the JSON here, then it spawns a flow structure. So the reason to do that is now you can paste in if you have a big JSON object and you don't want to actually type in like all 100 properties, you can easily paste that object here and decisions will grab all the nested objects, everything inside of it, and then create that data type for you. So it's an ease of generating data types from your JSON, and when you create it and they're because they're linked. In order to change it, you'd have to go to the object that it references, so that it then knows, okay, I got to add this extra type. So that's kind of what happens in the background of it, right? Flow structure is I just create a flow structure, define my 5 properties, and then it's not stored, not saved anywhere. But the JSON object and the XML object, respectively, is to allow you to create objects, faster if you have a large data set.
Okay, then one question, like, the only reason why we are facing this problem is because when we are trying to merge the branch from like lower environment to higher environment, it is ending up
Hmm.
duplicating the flow structure generation. So
Hmm.
let's say I have like one JSON structure called ABC. Okay, so
Yeah.
it has like that cube icon and it has that flow structure, right? And I
Hmm.
already have that code in production, let's say, right? Now
Hmm.
I make some other changes unrelated to this, and I release one more version to prod. So when I do that, right, basically I take the like trunk branch or a dev branch and
Sure.
like push that into release and then deploy that into prod. So once I do that, it actually ends up creating ABC2 again. And that's
Right,
when
right.
all these problems comes. Otherwise, it's okay.
Mm-hmm. Right, right. No, no, I understand the scenario. Um, Not sure why that bug is there. What I would advise though is submit a support ticket and let them and have them help you navigate that because maybe there's a patch or something maybe we can do to make it easier so that it doesn't duplicate, but that's something that's kind of beyond the scope of what I can provide. Um,
Okay,
but that would be your best bet. Submit a support ticket, get a support
sure.
technician, and then you'll probably be sent to like a tier two type of person or tier one type of person who can at least investigate with you and help you out.
Okay, no problems. Thanks, Jared.
Yeah, my
Being,
pleasure, Umar. Take care.
yep. You too, take care. Bye bye.
If a server has a flow that is launched on one server, this flow, let's see, wait, hold. If I have two servers and a flow that launched on one server, this flow loops through a list of emails and sends an email to each recipient. Is it possible that some recipient would not receive an email while others from a list? I'm gonna let you unmute VT. So is it possible? I don't know. I'd have to test it out. Unless you have some more insight on it.
Yeah, so we've seen the issue that um, we have a list of emails and everybody on that list received the email, but let's say one person. And mm, the only thing that I could have think of would have been that those two servers are not in sync and somehow that one person was skipped, or I don't know, maybe those emails that was queued while sending, uh, it would fail without an error.
The scenario of half the data. I presume you're in a two server cluster environment.
Mhm.
That theoretically is possible in that if the certain cluster settings are not configured in the decision server cluster, and it won't throw an error because the error would happen on the other server that someone is not on, right? So it is possible. I think basic things to check is have we done the sanity check and confirmed that the people who said they haven't received it have checked their junk folder?
Yep.
Okay. So then the best thing to do after that is check the I think it's where is it? Servers. It's not features, system tools. There we go, servers. And check the cluster information of it. I think there's some other cluster settings that may need to be checked in regard to cluster documentation. Documentation.decision.com. Decisions clustering. Are you clustering via like multi-tenant clustering or is it two separate servers?
Two separate servers, I guess.
Okay, that cluster, yeah. Um, the stuff that I would check the emails is I would check maybe the decision servers in the server section here in the administration, make sure that everything is set here. Then what I would check for that is maybe check a little load balancer and how it's configuring and optimizing its resources. But other than that, for any further investigation, that would be a support ticket to kind of get into the environment. But to answer your question, yes, it is possible that that can happen if clustering's not set up.
Okay, and another question, which was weird, when you make a change to a flow, and let's say you have two servers, because flow is changed, it needs to send save some data in database, and that database should, or the first server should be in the second server and say you need to be in sync, which not happens all the time. So for example, if somebody hits that flow on the second server, they would use the old version of what have been modified on the first server.
Yeah, one more. So you have a flow version one. It does X, Y, and Z. You make a change to do A, B, C, and then the second server has the change flow of version A, B, C, but the server one only has XYZ.
Yeah, it depends on like at the time of the change when you go into Flow Designer, you could be on server one or server two, right? So that change only stays on that server, and there is no event sent to the second server that they need to be in sync because it was a change to the flow. So when somebody hits that flow and load balancer says hit this server that I did not make change in, they would use the old version of the flow.
Yeah, it sounds like there definitely seems like there's something out of sync. Is it both the servers, is he referencing they're at the same database?
Yep.
Because that's the thing that I would check is that. It sounds like there's something that's out of sync there in the servers, because that's where that's the only way that could happen is either that flow is not getting, you either have a lock somewhere where maybe it's edited and it just goes back, while someone's editing it, it just uses the old flow because it can't get access to that change when that flow's locked. But that's just me kind of speculating. The best thing to do is get a support ticket and diagnose it. There's no theory I could give to help clarify that issue, other than it can happen if the database is not in sync, shared storage is not the same. Um, the Redis cache, if you're using caching, make sure the caching is pointing to the same place. But other than that, you'd have to get a support technician to help you out.
Okay. And last one. Weird thing happens when we upgraded from version 8 to version 9. So let's say we have two projects, Project A and Project B. They both have the same data type. And let's say in Project A, rule set outputs the data type that is created in the namespace of Project A. After upgrade from 8 to 9, for some reason, that rule set picked up a type from Project B, which another weird stuff that happened. When flow ran and then rule set ran, it didn't say it was an error, but it just output empty results.
Mm-hmm.
So
So,
it was hard to catch that because it was no error.
so you updated version 8 to version 9. You had a project with a rule set. That
Mm-hmm.
project you moved into a version 9 project hub scenario, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right, and converted that.
Yep.
And then after that, then it runs and it doesn't reference what's inside of it.
The problem was that Project A and Project B has the same data type, but I mean,
So, okay. So you
they
split it. So you had to split it.
no. The data type in Project A and Project B, they just copies. They separate data types. They just, I mean, the same type, but under a different namespace because namespace reference to the project.
Well, sure. Well, that's in version 8. In version 9, though, if you have one data type that has to be used across multiple project hubs, then you'd have to move that one
Oh, I get that.
into like a third. Yeah.
The problem is that let's say they are database stored the type. So the table is the same. Well, no, they are two tables,
Mm-hmm.
even though the columns are the same. So it's kind of like the same type, but they are into different tables because one table is for project A and another for project B, and somehow project A picked up type for project B and it didn't throw an error because, well, the fields are the same, I guess.
So, yeah, I would also. This is also a support ticket issue. We'd have to dive in and take a look. I know what can happen is sometimes when you move a project inside a version 8 project inside of a project hub, there's a certain table called like project settings that may not update the project ID of that element, and that connection may need to have been made. That's an issue I've seen from a version 8 to version 9 upgrade. Because now, if you actually do a query on the element underscore registration table or on other elements, you'll see that there's a new column field called project underscore ID associated, in version 9 to tie it into a project hub. So I know when I've upgraded my own systems, I've seen that, oh, there's a data type I've had that I was using that worked in version 8. I upgraded to version 9. It's in Project Hub, but for some reason it can't reference that type. And that was due to that project ID field not being added into the database level. And once I added and restarted, it worked for me. That's what this issue is sounding like. But I would get on a call with a support team member just to confirm, because it could be something else that makes it a little bit different. But I have seen that happen before.
Okay. Yeah, and the weird thing that rule set didn't throw an error on that. I don't know why.
Mm-hmm. Yep, mine did too. Yep, same. Like I would just have steps that would just run and not throw errors, but it wouldn't output any data because it can't find that type.
Okay.
So could be similar. I think maybe because the rule set might be different because that utilizes a folder, and maybe that could be what it is, or maybe that the hidden elements of the rule. Because like if you take a rule collection filter or run flows for list, when you throw those flow steps on the canvas, it creates kind of a hidden designer element. I'm wondering if the rule set is made similarly, and maybe those rules are just not tied to that project ID, and that could be causing the issue where it says, "Oh, I'll reference the rules. Oh, I have no rules," and it runs and outputs nothing because it thinks that there's nothing, even though there is.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Robert, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear? I don't see you in the lobby, but I hear your voice. It's Jet,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Hey, man. Sorry about that. I don't, yeah, under our participants, you don't show. Are you? Oh, apologies, man. I must have sent you the wrong link. You're on our side of the line here. Yeah,
Oh,
we can help you out, man. Sorry about that. Yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah,
Um,
I copy and pasted the link from my calendar, and I guess it gave you my uh my name on there. Yeah, you want to go ahead and ask your question? We can work at it.
yeah. So it was two questions actually. I think I asked earlier, is there a way to set focus to a control? The idea would be like if you check the checkbox, the next step the person would do would take their hand, put it on their mouse, move it over to a text box, click the text box so they have focus, and then start typing, as opposed to checking the checkbox and having the cursor automatically be in that checkbox so that the next thing they.
Oh, I cut you out. Hold on. Give me 1 second there, Joe. Um, Sorry, you cut out for a moment. Can you unmute real fast for me again? There you go. Sorry about that. I just had to move you
Yeah,
over. Apologies.
cut off, I guess.
Well, I heard the line up until so focusing on the text box.
Yeah, I mean, is there a control or a tool that sets focus to a control? So if
Let's
you had a
see.
checkbox and you checked
Yeah.
it, the next thing that would happen would be the cursor would go into a text box and then have focus in that text box.
Let's see. I don't, off the top of my head, I don't think so, but it could be
It
wrong on
sounds
that.
Java to me. I mean, anytime I think of an action, I think of Java immediately, but
Yeah, I don't think there is a type of flow step that does that. Enable control, exit control. Yeah, there's no focus control step. Let me see. Close this. Let me check here.
Good suggestion for the suggestion box, right?
Yeah, no, we can definitely take it and add it as what do you call it? A feature request to our devs. I think the only thing you could do is then people hit tab, because we can have a tab editor where we kind of change. You can set focus that way, but yeah, I don't think we have a like focus control like like in JS. You can
Right.
create your own JS control and input it, and then it would have its own focus and do it that way because we can integrate with JSON controls.
Okay, so
I-
you don't really
I
have that.
I did a little bit
No,
of
not out of the box.
I did a little bit of research on our end. It would involve a little bit of build, like Jared said, not out of the box, but you can essentially set up, like Jared was saying, auto tabbing, and then um, you can set up the tabbing. How do we call it? The tabbing order, tabbing. Give me one second to refine. I was reading a bunch of paragraphs here. Tabbing order, and you may be able to set up some type of um form flow or something that if the checkbox is done, a certain tabbing is done, and then it goes to the next tab. But it wouldn't be like he's showing it on the screen right now, but it's not like he said out of the box. It would
Yeah,
be. It'd be
I
built.
think I follow you. Like if the checkbox was tab number 5 and the text box was tab number 6, it's possible that when you check checkbox, which is tab number 5, that you could issue a tab command and it would move to 6.
That's what I'm thinking. Like I said, I'm reading a paragraph on our internal. Like someone was asking a similar question, so I'm kind of reading through like 100 people's responses here, trying to summarize it.
I know we do have like trigger components, and you can find out what triggered it, but I'm not seeing a way to focus. Like even in the data of form controls, I don't even have like a property called focus, where it would just be selected for people. So I think that'd be a feature request and that we can send in, and would probably be something where like maybe making this dynamic or something where someone can set it, and then you can flip that trigger in active form flow or something.
Okay. And then the last question was, I understand when you use the file upload feature that it's available to the flow as long as the flow is running. I guess what we're trying to do here, or what I'm trying to do here, is upload a file and have it attached to the form itself, I guess, and then whoever pulls that form up, some other person who pulls that form up has access to that file. They can just hit download or something like that. So just say, is that just go in like public folders like we did for the UPS cleanup kind of a thing, or is that a little bit more involved?
Yeah, so it depends on how you want to do your file data. It typically how we do it is if you want to reference it, you want to permanently store it. File data type, we do have like in the internal workings of how decision works, we just have mere references to it while the flow is active and running, so we can reference it. But if you want to like address it or get it after the fact when the flow is done, then you'd have to store it somewhere. You can store it on a shared drive. You can store it on the local server drive, or you can use one of the options like an I9, like you said, where you can store it in a decisions folder and then fetch that data later on and
Is
send it
it
to someone.
possible to show how you would store it on a shared drive?
Yeah. I can show you the steps. I won't have any of the credentials, but essentially what you would do is there's a couple of things you could do. Let me go ahead and show this. So this is going to be fun with files. So what I can do is there's what is this file? Wasn't it load file or something? Load file name, and I think it takes in a whole directory. So for example, if let's say I had it stored on my server. So let me go into my, let's see, I had some stuff. Okay, I'll create a new folder and put a document in. I'm just doing this in the background. Give me 1 second. We'll say this is file data, and I shall put some files in here. Let's put this in here. Cool. So now what I can do is, so if I want to get that file name, I think this is how it works. It's been a while. You put the file path to it, and then it's called get space cookies. Why did I use this one? It's such a long name, txt. And I believe if I go ahead and debug this, it should load that file there. And then boom, there we go. So I have that file loaded there. So that'd be something where, okay, this is how I get a file
Right.
and store it or put it inside of decisions. Now, if you want to save it inside of it, let's say let's look at file. There's another step we could use. What is it? Add file? Nope, not that one. It is not that. It is. Let's see. Load from file data. There is a move file from FTP or most likely SFTP for security that you would have to give the host the credentials, and it's the exact same way as the load file where you just have to put the whatever that kind of shared drive delineation is, and then I'm gonna go ahead and go back to data. We're gonna go to files. Go to that's just documents. There's one here. Advanced. Nope, not that. List, MS Word numbers, object, PDF, rules, text, file management. That's what I want. Okay, so we got find files, create a file, create directory. What does the create file do? Okay, so I think that stores it. I forgot where it stores it. It stores it on one of the directories and decisions. Load all files, move directory. I believe it's the create files what you do, and it creates a file on temp, the decision system, and in the decisions folder. I'm gonna go ahead. Let me just create a file real quick. Do I have a show form? I think I have a form. Don't I? Okay, let's just create a new one real quick. Form. We'll say this is file upload testing. File upload area. We'll say this is file. Oh, actually, I don't want to upload that. Oh no, I need that. Darn it. File upload testing. And I'm gonna say, let's say, text box, file name, and then I'll have multi-line text, file data. And then convert. I think it's get bytes from string or something. Get bytes from string, perfect. And then I can load the file, or not load, create a file. And the file name is going to be select from flow, file name. And then the data is going to be the get string from bytes. So now if I debug this, I can say my file name is test.txt. And then this is my data that I am putting in a file. Teehee. And let me run this. Or did I not map it in? I don't think I selected it. Oh, I didn't. That's funny. File data. I'll say test.txt, and this is my data for my text file. Teehee. Run, and then I believe what happens is if I go into the server C drive, program files, decisions server, and as you can see here, there's my text file, and I open it up. I have my data here. So that's one way you can create a file and put it on the server, and then if I want to, you can just load it.
Okay, that helps. As far as a standalone installation, not a web, a cloud-based version, it still needs those three servers, right? Production, test, and a repository.
For testing data or?
No, for like setting up a development environment on site here.
Yeah, well, we do recommend having a dev, a prod, and then like a repo, to be able to.
Okay, just like the instructions say then. Okay. All right. I
Any
will
other
take a look at what you just did here and then.
Alrighty.
All right, I will, I'll review what you just did, see if I can get anywhere with that.
Sure. Alrighty.
So there definitely is a way to store it on a network share, and you just did that.
Kind of,
Right.
yeah. What I did is I stored it on my local drive. The other stuff I couldn't really demonstrate because I don't have a network share to those fundamental files. But we
Yeah, I
have,
mean, local
yeah,
and network is the same.
yep, exactly.
Same
There's
concept.
also a network move if you have different like a stored was a network attached storage, and then network copy file, delete file, and find files. So we have a bunch of different kind of steps as move SCP. These are the kind of the steps you would utilize to
And
kind of
and
go to share.
and if a form was able to upload like you just did, and it stuck it in a network share, and it's now saved, and then if someone else was to pull up that form, how would you reference back that file that you
Yeah,
saved?
yeah. So you would go ahead and utilize this load file right step to be able to get it, or there is the find files, network find files, or there's also I think a read for it, but that will allow you to kind of get the file and then load it.
Bring it up into whatever it is that you
Mhm.
need.
Exactly, yeah. So it'd be a mix of load and then or one of the network ones. If you have to, if like we have a bytes one, which just gets I think it just gets the data in bytes. What you can do, just kind of interesting, is that on some things you can say I think it's get string from bytes, and you can do the opposite where it says, okay, if I have a list of bytes, because that's how we see the file, you can utilize this to kind of get the string output. So if it's simple text files or HTML, that's you can do that. With more complex file types like PowerPoint, kind of spreadsheets, you probably just utilize the load from file to get the entire object, and then you have it inside the system.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Okay. All right, great. Thanks for your help.
Awesome, my pleasure. Alrighty, well, I'm gonna go ahead and call it quits there so we can get the recording uploaded and so people can watch that on our YouTube channel. So thank you so much for attending. We'll be on tomorrow, the last day this week for Lunch and Learn, Thursday, December 5th with Jeremy Winowitz. So he'll be the one who will be there kind of hosting that one. So join that one. It'll be a good, helpful session with a lot of information. So with that being said, everyone take care and I'll see you guys next time.